What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Makalesi, and I'm here with
Siris King.
and we're back in full effect with Makalesi King's. What was this? YouTube, right?
Yep.
I know we haven't been here for a while, and we're back now that there's a lot of interesting politics, social issues coming on. I wanted to focus more on talking about things in regards to society, in regards to entertainment, and in regards to things that's going on. Not so much spiritual, but just like regular discussions on this channel. So how are you doing?
I'm chilling.
So what do you think of coming back to this channel?
I mean, for me, this is more my thing. So I definitely enjoy politics, entertainment, and social critiques.
And I like it too because it's something that I feel like we can relate more with the audience, and then therefore, it's just not esoteric spirituality. It's just more everyday things that everyone can relate to. So I think this is more a more personal thing that we can make in conjunction with the audience. So therefore, we all kind of can know exactly what we're talking about, and no one's really a teacher, no one's really superior. We're just all kind of giving our opinions here, and we all have valid points. So what are your thoughts?
Well, what do you want to talk about? Kanye West and Alex Jone?
Yeah, well, okay. So the thing I want to talk about, I thought that we should talk about here is the Kanye West and Alex Jones things, because obviously there's a lot of things happening in the political climax where we're talking about Donald Trump is now elected, and there's a lot of controversy towards that because, it's the electoral college versus the popular vote. Then you have people saying that there's a lot of fake news and propaganda that's connected to social media. And then sometimes people say it's because of the daily news, because there's a new host. Maybe he could have won because Daily News is not there. Then you have people who say because Alex Jone is really pushing this controversy of, political propaganda, and then that's made Donald Trump win.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a whole separate video, honestly. Like, it's no question.
But I think we had to give the foundation of why Alex Jone is kind of where he is now with the Kanye West stuff.
Well, I mean, Alex Jones says he has a very big platform. I think he has his YouTube channel probably has 1.8 million people, subscribers. And then I think he probably has 100 radio stations who carry a show. So when you add everything up, I think they said his audience is probably about 7 million. It's pretty substantial. And I think part of the reason why is because he's really, to me, a conspiracy theorist. Mm-hmm. But I think what happens is that maybe there's a gap in the news, and conspiracy theorists fill that gap, but they don't fill it correctly. So in a sense, what happens is everyone knows they're not getting the whole story, but then they might be going to the wrong sources to get the whole story, when I think really, if you want to get the whole story, you have to go through multiple sources from both left and right, from both, mainstream and underground. And then you put it together. I don't really think you're going to ever get to one person and they're going to give you everything. The world doesn't work like that, from my opinion.
Right. So anyway, so you have Alex Jones, who's this controversy person. He's really focused on conspiracy theory, which is more anti-government from the Illuminati's, and because he's more right, he has this whole that there's these bad guys who are running the government, the Illuminati, things of that nature. So Donald Trump did a lot of his campaign with all different types of organization, Alex Jones being one of them. And now that he won, Alex Jones is like, yeah, Donald Trump is my guy. This is the person I want for presidency. He's better than Hillary Clinton. Everything's about Donald Trump. So now people are kind of questioning him because he went from being a conspiracy theorist to Donald Trump supporter 100%, which is fine because everyone has their presidents that they like to elect. But now it seems like anything that has to do with that's kind of questionable about President-elect Donald Trump, he seems to override it. So in a way, he's kind of become biased. So he's not talking about the alt-right movement. He's not talking about the lobbyists that Donald Trump has put in his cabinet. He's not talking about a lot of the things that Donald Trump has promised but hasn't went through. So a lot of controversy that's going on in his organization right now. He's not talking about anything like that. So now everyone's kind of coming to the point that we're going to accept Donald Trump. We'll just see what he does. And there's a lot of questionable things, like people saying there's questionable things in regards to a personal of interest. What's it called? The conflict of interest, because he wants to run the president, but he also wants to run his development or corporation. So there's that's a conflict of interest because you're a president, but you have your own private organization. So that's a conflict of interest. He's not talking about that, but he will talk about Kanye West. And Kanye West was prosecuted because he was a Donald Trump supporter as being the black guy. So that's what we're talking about now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very dangerous when you say Kanye West is prosecuted just because he's a black guy. I mean, when you hear the comment
that likes Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They like Donald Trump. I think they said Trump and while black, which is basically just supporting Donald Trump. And I think it's dangerous because a lot of people do this where they don't follow, like, let's say you don't follow entertainment. So you don't know all this crazy stuff that Kanye is doing. And then you see a big headline. And that big headline kind of fits with what a theory you might have. You just put it together.
A bias theory. Yeah.
You just put it together. I think that's dangerous. Like, if you're going to talk about entertainment or Kanye West, follow it so that you kind of can know what is what and what's not what. But when you just say, oh, a big headline comes in, I guess he's institutionalized. Then you say, well, what happened? Oh, he mentioned Trump. And then you say, well, maybe he's institutionalized because of Trump. But then you don't realize he said like about 12 other things besides Trump. And in fact, the Trump part was just maybe the beginning of one of the rants. It wasn't even like the main part of it. So I think that because he didn't put that together, he just jumped and ran with it, which I've seen him do with other things too, because it fits his Trump, I guess, storyline, where everything is about Trump and where you stand on the fence. If you're against Trump, then the Illuminati is going to try to destroy you. And I think part of that's because, like what you said, there's like a new movement coming in to try to attack fake news. And people put Alex Jone as part of that group. And in his mind, it's the Democrats versus him, which is still kind of egotistical because there's a lot of other people being targeted, not just Alex Jone. But again, it's always about him. So Trump in his mind is kind of tied into him because I think when Donald Trump won, he called him. And that made news where people don't hear that. Like, you don't even see like regular presidents call CNN and be like, yo, thank you. Mm-hmm. So in his mind, he's like, to me, an extension of Trump's team.
So he's a conspiracy theorist, but I think because Donald Trump said, thank you, Alex Jones, for my election, now he feels like, oh, you're my friend. No one can talk about Donald Trump. And I don't think necessarily Trump is a bad guy, but I do think that he's making some wrong political decisions, especially with his cabinet, especially people he puts around him. A lot of the ways he does things it's kind of could be considered a little bit controversial. And I think there's a lot of stuff that people should be talking about. We should be aware of. There's a lot of things that should be discussed, even if you agree with it or not. Just putting it out there and be like, hey, this is what's happening. Like real news do. This is what's happening. I'm just going to give you the facts. You come up to your own conclusion. But the problem with, I think, Alex Jones is first is very emotional because in that, it was Thanksgiving. I think it was Thanksgiving night when he came out with this YouTube rant that he has. He pulled out a gun and was like, ain't no cops gonna come and take me out of psychiatric wards. So let's go back first before we understand why he did this. Okay, so you have Kanye West, who is known for having rants in past. He has concerts, he rants, he goes on his rants about whatever he likes. He has like the fashion industry, he's like Taylor Swift, he's like he's known for it. So people's been questioning if he's having a mental breakdown. So on a Friday, he had a show in San Jose, and he just made a comment saying, I think I vindicated that Trump won, or I'm so happy Trump won because I did not vote, but I'm a Trump supporter. So that was towards the end of the show. People booed him, end the show. So it got news. Wow, Kanye said he's a Trump supporter. That was Friday. And then on Saturday, he drove 2 hours north to Sacramento, was an hour and a half late to his show, which people were like, what the hell is an hour and a half late? He comes on, right? And then after he comes on, he does 2 songs, and then he goes on a 19-minute rant about, I'm good, my Trump on. That's all he says. And he bashes Beyonce. He says that Jay-Z's not calling him. He bashes the radio stations. He bashes the founder of Facebook. He kind of just goes on his little rant bashing at the music industry. Drake, DJ Khaled, the radio stations keep playing music over and over again. It's getting old. You need to kill your heroes. So he went on this rant about a lot of things. But the most controversial thing was Jay-Z and Beyonce, because those were supposed to be his friends. And he was like, Jay-Z, call me. Why aren't you calling me? And he went on for such a long rant that they took him off stage. And you have to understand, because he was an hour and a half late and he was ranting for 19 minutes. So they're like, we can't have this. So that happens after 30 minutes, everyone has to go home. So everyone's like, what the hell? I paid $250 a ticket. Why did they cancel my show? And that happened Saturday. Then we had Sunday. He had to have a show in Southern California, which is 5 hours away. And then what happens is he cancels that show. right? So people are like, what the hell happened? Friday, he said he's a Donald Trump supporter. Saturday, he goes a 19-minute rant. So he's getting his Trump on. That's all he says, but rants about everything else. Sunday, he cancels his show. Monday, he decides to cancel the rest of his remaining shows, which is 21 shows. And then people are like, what? That's like $25 million. Or is it $35 million? That's like $35 million. You cancel 21 shows. And then we heard that he has a mental breakdown or psychiatric breakdown because he was at his personal trainer's, I guess, gym, and he was getting violent with one of their employees. So what happens? They called 911 to settle it, and when they came in, they thought that he was on medication or drugs. They asked the guy, "Is he on medication or is he drugs?" And he says, "I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised." It took him 2 hours to talk him down. They put him in psychiatric ward just to see how he's doing, and that's what happened. So when you realize that everything that's been happening was all happened between 4 days. Right? Friday, Donald Trump rant, San Jose. Saturday, he kind of basically said he's getting Donald Trump on, vented about the whole music industry. The show got cut short. He canceled it. No one else canceled it. Sunday canceled the show in Southern California. Monday, he canceled all the rest of his shows. Monday afternoon, he went to the psychiatric ward. But when you hear Alex Jones, he's saying that, what is Alex Jones saying?
Basically, like he rolls into all one event. Basically, it's kind of like he says, "I'm for Trump." As soon as he says that, the cops come in and stop the show. So cops and security stop the show and put him on a stretcher. When what you're describing was like something that happened in 4 or 5 days.
Right.
He puts it in one
escalation.
Day. It's escalation. He puts it in one day. The cops came and shut it down, put him in the mental hospital, and then Kim Kardashian cancels the rest of the show. Then he goes on a whole anti-Kardashian rant. So it's so like if you're a person who doesn't follow it, you would actually have the wrong information right now. You could see how somebody would say, "Oh my God, he said he supports Trump," and he put him in a mental institution when it wasn't like that.
Yeah, and I think he said something like, "It's Illuminati is going against every Trump supporter," and then he pulls out a gun and was like,
because then he says Kanye should have his security. Where his security at? So then I think because when he's talking, it's 5 people in the background and all in a circle. Not even an official, because they do their stuff officially. They have desks and act like it's regular real news.
This is Alex Jones.
Yeah, okay. But this time it was like a circle of guys just talking, and then the people, they were going back and forth, and then they were like, he was like, "Where's his security at?" And then they were like, "Well, what if they do that to you, Alex Jones?" And he's like, "Well, I got something for them." And then he pulls out, an AK, a huge rifle. Not even like a little 6-shooter or Beretta, huge rifle. And then he basically is kind of like hinting that I guess you shoot whoever comes at him. But it's like, to me, that just like, I don't know where the rifle came in because it had nothing to do with you. And it had, and in fact, even if you have bodyguards, they can't override the cops anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't make any sense to me.
But see, I think that's the problem, though, is he's making it seem like the cops came in because he was a Donald Trump supporter. And he does not really understand the full story. So the problem with the fake news or the propaganda or the conspiracy theory is you're not looking at the full story of what's happening. And because we're not Kanye West and we're not in this situation, we're just bystanders watching it, trying to just understand the story. So there's always going to be little nuances that we don't really know about, especially between him, Beyonce, and Jay-Z. So the problem with Alex Jones is he has an agenda, which is, I'm a Trump supporter, and everyone who is a Trump supporter, we're being targeted, which is push fear-mongering. And anything that will fit his perspective, he will use that for his agenda of saying we're being targeted. So when he hears, Donald Trump's Kanye West says that he's a Donald Trump supporter, and then he was put in a psychiatric ward, he went and says, great opportunity to push my biased opinion. And so he tells his people, see, he's a Donald Trump supporter. They're going to put drugs in him. They're going to make him submit to him. We need to get our guns and protect. But he's forgetting to say that Kanye West's own gym, his gym guy, called for the safety of his own people. So he's making it seem like the cops were like, go get him. He's a Kanye West supports Donald Trump. Let's go get him with our rifles. And so he's making it seem like, get your guns. It's like, no, they were called to stabilize a situation that someone felt threatened by. And unfortunately, the threat was Kanye, as it seems. And it took him 2 hours to talk to him. They didn't take 2 hours. They were like, we're going to shoot you out. They were trying to calm him down. So when they called the fire department, within 2 hours, the fire department was like, okay, he's ready to go. They handcuffed, but he did it willingly because they were able to talk him down. So what I'm saying is, you have to be very careful when you have people who are pushing the sphere and not really doing the full research of the situation. Because from someone from Alex Jones' perception could look at this and say, wow, you're right. As Donald Trump people, the Illuminati is trying to take us, and we need to get our guns and shoot them because they're going to put us in psychiatric ward. And he's feeding off the fear to make people support him. And when you really look at the situation, you're like, no, like, even if you don't even believe me, you could do your own research. There's timelines and everything about this. Like, he's really perverting the situation for his own ego or his own perception. And this is why it's dangerous to have people like him who have access to, like you say, 7 million people pushing information and news, especially when you have, like, let's just say, his target audience is white people, and they don't really listen to hip hop or Kanye West, and they don't really understand what's happening. So they're basing it on him to tell them what's going on with Kanye West. So when he's saying this and he's not giving the full perception of what's going on, then it makes him look crazy. So let's go back to Kanye West. Why would he have a psychiatric breakdown? Okay, let's just look at this. You know, he's saying, I feel he's saying he's anti-Trump because he has beef with Beyonce and Jay-Z. And because for whatever reasons their friendship didn't work out. And Beyonce and Jay-Z are what? Obama, Clinton supporters. So prior to all this, he took shots at Beyonce and Jay-Z before. And, you know, your kids why are kids not hanging out? How come you ain't calling me? So when he did this whole Trump supporter on Friday, I told you before anything happened, I think this has to do with Beyonce and Beyonce and Jay-Z. So the next day he went in his thing and he ran a rant about Beyonce, Jay-Z. So I told yep, this is the whole Trump thing was because he wanted it to be, if you like Clintons and Obama, I'm going to do opposite. I'm going to be everything you don't like. So everything's really focused, I think, around Beyonce and Jay-Z's friendship. It's falling apart and he's hurt by that. Second of all, he running around, maybe he's taking medication, or sometimes people, you know, when you're on stage, you have so much people giving you love and you have adrenaline, you just start running your mouth because you're like, oh, this is great, and people are cheering you on, so you feel like people love you, but you don't realize people are recording you and can use that to you later. So I think sometimes he's those people who just likes to run his mouth and people sees him because he's getting so much love that he feels like everybody loves me, but he doesn't realize some people will be like, no, this is kind of a rant. So when he went and he started ranting, the Sacramento people like, dude, you're an hour and a half late. I got to go home. Your time's about to be up. You were talking for 20 minutes. Let me just bring him down, make him take a 15-minute break so then he can stop ranting and go on with his music. So you could see that they kind of took the stage down and was like, dude, like, maybe you need to take a break. And he got butthurt because they stopped him. So he said, show's over, and ran off. So when he went home, he was very emotional about it and embarrassed when he saw the news. So he canceled his show. And after that, he's like, fuck it. When he saw people on Twitter, like, roasting him, he's like, fuck everybody. I think he did it out of emotions. And then when his lawyer told him, dude, you just fucked up on $53 million. Then he's just like, had a nervous breakdown, like, oh my God, that was, it wasn't 53, it was like $35 million. And he's like, oh my God, I lost $35 million. And he said publicly that he's $56 million broke or some shit. So once he realized the magnitude of what he did, he had kind of a nervous breakdown. It's like someone told you, dude, you just lost like $35 million. And that's when he just kind of maybe had like a nervous breakdown because of the magnitude of what he lost. So that would make sense. You know what I mean? Because he maybe got emotional, maybe needs a little bit of therapy, maybe he's hurt, he vented a little bit, he vented about radio stations, he vented about about Beyonce and Jay-Z, he vented a lot of stuff. He probably said, damn, I put my foot in my mouth, can't take that shit back, I'm gonna cancel all shows. And in the meantime, he realized he lost $53 million, isolated himself from the radio stations and his friends, and had a nervous breakdown because of that. You know, so then meanwhile, you have someone else saying, nope, it's because you're a Trump supporter and they're trying to institutionalize you.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I think what you said is right. He probably had a personal beef with Jay-Z and Beyonce and attacked everything that they're into. So I don't think
anti anything they're into.
So I don't know if it's anti-Democrat, but definitely anti-Clinton, right? Mm-hmm. So boom, kind of even take a little shot to Obama a little bit. Kind of maybe even DJ Khaled, Jay-Z manages him. And I guess the partnership is doing pretty well. Khaled's doing really good right now. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's connected to them, he attacks. So it was more, for me, out of more like revenge or kind of jealousy.
And that's why he says, I feel vindicated. Yeah. This is more like everything you guys are for. I'm so happy you guys got, like, you're so pro-Clinton. like, I'm so happy that like Trump won, and not because I support Trump, but more so I'm so vindicated from you guys. I'm just like enjoying it, enjoying the moment. You know what I mean? And then that's what I think it's about. It's really, he's so hurt, and he even says, Beyonce, I'm hurt. I'm hurt. So you could tell like all this is based. It's a lot of things are based around it, but he says he didn't vote, so he doesn't even have a point to say it. But he just wants to take a shot at Beyonce and Jay-Z because he feels like they're doing that to him.
Exactly. Like if you didn't vote, if you were really down with Trump that much, you would have voted.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have said something before this happened. Maybe a pro-Trump message. He didn't say any of that stuff, so he couldn't have been that pro-Trump. Mm-hmm. But it makes sense that. I mean, I think Jay-Z and Beyonce had a little concert like 4 days before the election and stuff like that. And even Donald Trump said, oh, yeah, they only got 20,000. I got 31,000 by myself. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like that thing where people said, I guess Kanye was like, yeah, it's true. Like Trump has that swag. He has that. I'm just saying, but Kanye West is mine. Whatever, he represents something that Jay-Z and Beyonce don't represent. So I'm going to back that. Right. That's how I think it came down to. And I think if someone, like if you don't follow Kanye, you don't know that. Yeah. So if you don't know that, it looks like, oh, yeah, maybe. Because the Trump part was only a minor part of it. Yeah. Besides even Alex Jone.
It was a small statement.
Yeah. Besides even Alex Jone saying about, they arrested him. If you look at the whole statement, Trump was like the beginning of the statement. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even the emotionally, I guess the most emotional part of the statement. Where you felt his anger or his sadness. Yeah. You know what I mean? So to me, it's just sad in a sense because, when you're known to be crazy, it's kind of hard to build your brand up, especially if you want to run for president, which I don't know if that was even serious.
Because he also wants to run for presidency in 2020. And I think also another reason why he's probably excited that Donald Trump wins because he knows he's a little bit probably more eloquent than Donald Trump in comparison to, for his perspective, remember Kanye West is kind of narcissistic, so he thinks he's a little bit more than what he says he is. So, but I'm just saying, if you look at Kanye West versus Hillary Clinton is way more intellectual when it comes to policies. But Kanye West versus Donald Trump, he probably thinks I could win Donald Trump in, let's just say, a popular vote, entertainer versus entertainer. But if you put Kanye West versus Hillary Clinton, it's like an entertainer versus an intellectual politician. So it's really going to be, are people going to vote for intellectualism or people going to vote for the rapper? But if you put rapper versus reality show, Donald Trump, the celebrity versus celebrity, Kanye probably feels I could probably win Donald Trump in 2020 because it's celebrity versus celebrity. You know what I mean? They're kind of like on the same spectrum of entertainment where Hillary Clinton is more pure politician. So in a way, I feel him supporting Donald Trump makes him feel more secure in his bid for presidency in 2020.
Yeah. Well, I think that bid is probably over now.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, hey, these days, somebody made a joke, and it's true. Imagine if you were in a coma since 2013, and you woke up 2016, November 9th, and somebody told you, oh, you guess who's the president? You said, who? The reality show guy, Donald Trump. And you said, what? The president of America? They say, yeah, he just won.
I'd be like, I'm in the Twilight Zone.
You'd be like, what the hell's going on? And that was just if you went in a coma in 2013. Yeah. So who the hell knows what the world's going to be like in 4 years from now? It might be where Kanye West, but even then, I just don't see it because, I mean, come on. Like, he's going to have to go on the Democratic ticket. And it's actually easy.
The Democratic is not going to select him for presidency. They're a little bit more serious about it. I mean, especially if they want the White House back, they're not going to get like Kanye. They want a real someone. Donald Trump is another side story, but he has to realize what party you're going to run under. You're going to run under Democrats, obviously, to go against Republicans, but then you're publicly supporting Donald Trump. But now that you have this psychotic breakdown, and you have someone like Alex Jones perpetuating this conspiracy theory, I don't see how it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's funny because even Alex Jones, I saw him. Yeah, I could tell some people are a little concerned with all the people Donald Trump is selecting for his cabinet. And I just think that in general, like even Alex Jones' brand is probably going to be hurt in 2 years from now because there's no question Donald Trump, and this is my opinion, is not going to make a lot of promises that he made. Mm-hmm. And there's no...
He's trying, though. I can see he's trying.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But the system, like, you know what I mean? Like to run that, and then the people he surrounds himself with, I think Kanye West's brand is dying. I think Alex Jones' brand is going to die too.
I think it's going to die too, because even when I notice a lot of times, a lot of people in the conscious community, they get a lot of their core values or stuff from Alex Jones. When you hear them speak, you can hear like a lot of Alex Jones undertone in it. And I said this a while ago, but I told you, I don't know for a fact, but I say it's kind of questionable how I feel about Alex Jones, because I can sense a little bit of racism in him. This is before any of this happened. Siris, he was my witness. I said, you're like, really? I was like, no, I was like, I know he has like Professor Griff and a lot of like KRS One and stuff like that, but when I look at him, I can just sense a lot of like a little racism going on with him, So what I'm saying though is now that you have Donald Trump and a lot of people kind of interested or concerned about his cabinets with the alt-right movement and a lot of these neo-Nazis and KKK publicly going well for him, people are just saying, well, you can have a guy from Hamilton who eloquently just asked Pence, the vice president, hey, can you just look at can you please stand for all Americans? That's what he says, all races and creed. That's all we ask. It wasn't really controversial. Just like, we thank you for coming, but we hope you're inspired by Hamilton and we want you to speak for all Americans. Then Donald Trump was all like, you need to apologize. That's so rude on his Twitter, right? And then Pence was like, no, that's cool. It's his right. So people's like, okay, so you can go here and tell a Broadway person, you need to apologize. That's very rude. But when you have all these neo-Nazis, KKK people in your organization publicly saying, hail Trump, which is connected to hail Hitler, you're not asking for an apology. You're like, well, everyone has their own opinions. So it's like, you can say, you need to apologize to a Hamilton person who's eloquently asking you to represent all of America, but you're not asking from people who are very controversial in their neo-Nazis or Ku Klux Klan perception. And they are actually directly connected to your organization. So when he does address those people, all he says stuff is like, I speak for everyone equally and I will not energize any type of organization. Well, you're so adamant to say, apologize. So where's that hardcore apologetic feel that you did for Hamilton that's not coming from the Ku Klux Klan or the neo-Nazi organizations that are in your cabinet? You know what I mean? So when you realize that, it makes you kind of makes you concerned about where the direction of the cabinet is going in regards to Donald Trump, and then kind of makes you look at Alex Jones and say, if you really want to go in conspiracy in light of the controversial stuff that's happening within our government, why aren't you talking about this stuff? And then why are you exaggerating Donald Trump when it's connection to Kanye, when you're not even looking at the full spectrum of Kanye. So if you really want to talk about you're the best in politics, you need to an organization, you should be able to analyze every nook and cranny and analyze, even if you agree from every corner. But when you only pick and choose what you like because it perpetuates your biased ideas, then it's definitely something to pay attention to, because it's not true. It's not true reporting news. It's propaganda based on your own concern.
Yeah. And I think what you said is so true. A lot of people don't really treat journalism as they treat a science, as they treat an art. Like, meaning journalism, it works best when you're neutral and you're just investigating information or the facts. And then you kind of leave your own opinion at home. And because many people don't do that, Alex Jones included, it comes off extremely biased. Where for me, I don't even mind if you're supporting Trump. Like, if you supported Trump before, it's cool. But then when you look at what's happening now, at least be like, oh, I'm concerned. Yes, like he pretends he's concerned with his cabinet, but then he's concerned about Mitt Romney and not concerned about Steve Bannon. He actually says Steve Bannon is a genius. So I'm like, you're concerned about the wrong things. And to me, that's what the problem is the fact that he doesn't really do that. Everything is based on, at least his brand. In his mind, him backing Trump and Trump winning makes his brand stronger. So once you do that, you become just as bad as the so-called media that you're saying is bad, who they're owned by corporations, and their views are going to be based on what their corporate bosses think. Right. You're no different. A real journalist is like, yo, I don't care what it is. I'm going to just give the facts. I'm not giving my opinion. And that's kind of a dining art.
And it might go against my personal opinions, and it might go against my brand, but at least I'm true to the art. And that's what happens is you have to be true to the art, which is, like, if something goes wrong, you can depend on me to tell you if it's wrong. Look, if I'm a Donald Trump supporter, but once he starts abolishing our amendments in our Constitution, you can depend on me to say, look, we need to pay attention. But if you're going to be someone who says, well, Donald Trump called me and said thank you, and I'm going to be his yes man all the time, you actually, in a way, you got sold out already to the corporation right now. Donald Trump is being your friend. So therefore, Donald Trump starts picking away at the Constitution, or just starts doing things shady, or starts hooking up with the Illuminati, you're not going to report that because you want to be his best slave boy.
And it's funny when you mentioned the Daily Show in the beginning. Some people said, maybe if Jon Stewart was there, Hillary Clinton wouldn't have lost. And Jon Stewart was on the show, and he said something interesting where he was like, like he said something a lot of people wouldn't. He was like, yeah, Donald Trump won and stuff like that, but we got to look at, us as Democrats have to look at why he won. And he said, you could look at it and say, well, all his people are racist. But there's a lot of there's like maybe 50% of that may be true. but there's a whole other part that we never addressed that he pretended to address, and that's what got him to win. And even a lot of Democrats are kind of butthurt in a way. But when I saw that, I said, that's why Jon Stewart is Jon Stewart, because he's a Democrat, but he's willing to look at his own brand and see what's wrong.
And not make excuses for why it's wrong.
Exactly. Like Michael Moore said the same thing. Michael Moore went to the Rust Belt where Hillary lost. So I guess he was on the ground and he was hearing people interviewing them. So for him, I kind of expected him to say that. But for Jon Stewart to say that, I said, wow, he's a person who's in that party, who's kind of corporate in terms of, obviously he's corporate, and yet he could still look at it from an objective viewpoint, where everyone else would just say, well, he won because of racism and stuff like that. And he came much more objective. I respected that.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is I think a lot of times people just always want to they think being the best journalism is never having any mistakes, never having any errors. Everything you do is right, and you never make mistakes. But I kind of disagree with that, because once you cannot accept that when you accept that everything you do has to be right, it's because with journalism it comes about ego. So I think what happens is right journalism, or even a right approach to journalism, should be like, let's just analyze the facts, and then if I'm wrong, admit you stand corrected, and then analyze why did we get it wrong. You know what I mean? So if you say, yeah, maybe the Democrats messed up, but this is where we messed up at. Maybe it's because of the Bernie Sanders stuff. Maybe it's because of the leak stuff. Maybe it's because we're pushing the female. Maybe we thought that America was a bit too progressive. Maybe because of Obama was elected for 10 years. There's a lot of middle-class white people who say, hey, I don't feel like people respect me anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like, be honest with yourself and say, oh, these are parts of society that we left out. Or these are people who don't feel like their voice is there. So this is people we got to represent. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's the healthier way to do things. So when you look at Alex Jones, for example, okay, Donald Trump won, fine. People protested, people were like, do the policies now. So we just like, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? If you can have change of heart, great. We stand corrected. But when he starts doing really controversial stuff in his cabinets and picking people that are connected to lobbyists, even though he's against it, or picking billionaires to be in his part of his cabinet, and he's like, he's going to cut that out. And you see him cutting like, maybe potentially Medicare, you start questioning like, what's going on here? But if we're not able to look at the issues as they come in, and we're just going to stick into my feelings are hurt and I'm always going to stick by no matter what, you missed the point. Because if you're still fighting about something that happened from the election, which happened like 3 weeks ago, and you're not analyzing shit that's happening now, you're not doing journalism. You're just trying to lick wounds of your ego.
Yeah. I think you bring up a very good point. To me, if scientists could come and say, oh, we were wrong about this. This theory was wrong, and this is what it is now. You could do that in science. I don't know why you can't do that in politics and journalism. You're going to get some stuff wrong. But too many people, because they already pick a side, they have to then slant information to try to support that side, even if that side is wrong. And I think that's the problem.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see. I could tell this next 4 years is going to be quite fascinating.
And I think in the next 4 year actions, people are going to start realizing that he's not really a reputable news source. and not no that's what I'm just saying. Even if you like you watched, you told me, oh yeah, I just watched Alex Jones interview. I was like, how'd it go? And you said, well, he just kind of basically try and make it seem like it was all about Trump. I said, well, did he talk about any of the other concerns besides Trump? The him counting 21 shows, his beef with Beyonce, his beef with his music. His music is not on the top charts like it used to. He's like $53 million in debt. And even he works for up to 2017, he'd still be $20 million in debt. Did he put any of that into equation? No. Well, then it kind of makes you question him.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think people have to do that in general. And this next 4 years might challenge that, because I think even if you're a person who elected Trump and you thought he was going to be for the middle class, which I think is crazy, but he's going to be for the middle class, even though he's a billionaire, which doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a rude awakening too, because it's obvious that he's going to come in and, to me, and he's just going to cater to the system. Like, the system is very hard to change.
And what do you think about actions? Yeehaw, gun.
Well, I mean, the gun stuff is kind of hard because he tried to tie it into, because that's a Democrat versus Republican thing anyway. And he was going into Bruce Willis talking about, he started ranting about some people believe that a lot of people are anti-gun because you're a celebrity and you have a whole bunch of bodyguards. You're anti-gun. But how could you be anti-gun when you got bodyguards, when the average person can't protect themselves, so they need a gun? So he was kind of going into this whole Democrat versus who likes no guns versus Republicans who are pro-gun. And to me, it's like, that's stuff like it depends where you live, obviously. Because if you're in the South, it's a gun culture, you get a gun very easily. I'm originally from New York. You got a gun that's illegal, you get 4 years straight up. So it just, to me, the gun stuff, it depends. It's a cultural thing. It just depends on which part of the region you live at. and in the South, they're gun-based culture. And to me, I think it's exaggeration because they always are on the Democrats want to take their guns. And to my knowledge, even Democrats know there's no way in hell you could take the guns in the South. You know what I mean? So to me, that whole
it's propaganda again.
Like I have never really heard Democrat really believe.
What about the Illuminati?
Well, I mean, there's, that's all. I mean, to be fair, yeah, if I'm Illuminati, I probably would be more anti-gun. But to me, it's kind of like, even if you got guns, can you really beat the military? Like, to me, it's just like, one or two guns is not gonna. If you're scared of Illuminati, they come in, you got guns, and they got guns. They got bigger guns. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think too many people, for me, just go on politics and they don't really look at the other side. Right. So to me, when he pulled out the gun, you could be pro-gun, but when he pulled out the gun, it made him look crazy. Yeah. Because the gun didn't really have anything. Yes, you could tie it in with Kanye West had bodyguards, but to me, if he had bodyguards, if the cops were actually the ones who pulled them in, a bodyguard can't protect you from cops.
So, but see, this is a problem that Alex doesn't realize. Let's just say Kanye West was able to pull out the gun, like he says, "I'll get my gun," and be like, "What?" Now, let's put it in Action's perception in his world. The cops came in, we got a call that someone said you're acting chaotic. We're here to resolve the situation and maybe potentially put you in the psychiatric ward just for evaluation. No one's saying you can't go home, but just for evaluation. And then Kanye West is get my gun out. People like, oh, he's threatening cops. Guess what? Black Lives Matter. Bang, bang, bang. You're dead. Boom. That would cause another thing. Like, I'm looking at, like, he doesn't understand, like, Black people, they can't just sit there with a gun, because if you just holding it, even a toy gun, even if you put your hand in the shape of a gun, you're shot. So I'm looking at him like, your perception as a white male is not the same perception as a Black male. So if a Black guy was to sit there with a gun like he does, guess what? You get shot up by 20 guys with your hands up and your back. So he's not in reality. If Kanye was sitting holding there with a gun and people say, "Oh my God, he's chaotic," guess what? He would get killed. So I'm looking at him like, that gun stuff doesn't really work. It depends on what race. If a Black man holds a gun, even if it's for, the right to hold a gun, and even if he has permit, he'll get shot. You know what I mean? So that only works from his white boy stance, or the perception that he's coming from. It doesn't work for the other side. You know what I mean? And this is the core of why they talk about Black Lives Matter. Because most of these people who are in Black Lives Matter get shot, none of them even had guns in their hands. They thought they had a gun in their hand. Now imagine if they had a gun in their hand, they'd be like, "Oh my God, he almost tried to threaten our lives." But most of these people says, we thought they had a gun. So just the idea that they think they have a gun gives them a right to get killed. But white people will be, or white males, like he says, and then say, "Yeah, I have a right to protect my guns." It's not the same. It's just not the same. So even when he's saying that, he's not even putting perception. He's thinking it from his perception. He's thinking from the universe, as Alex Jones' consciousness is the sun, and all the planets and every situation rotates around his sun. He has to realize, like, if you're going to talk about something, culture, race, intelligence, hip hop, whatever, you have to look at it from an alternative perception. Don't look at everything from your perception. Once you look at it from alternative perception, Kanye West, even if he had a gun and bodyguards, that's not going to make the situation better. Actually, the best thing to do is be like, "Yeah, give me handcuffs, I'll go." Then that is the best situation. You know what I mean? And let's just say Kanye West was getting hit up by the Illuminati. Let's just say he was right, even though we know it's wrong. That would make it worse. They would call him a terrorist. So there is no win in this situation. Unfortunately, the way that Kanye West resolved it, it was the best solution in the world of Alex Jones, or in reality.
I mean, the way he handled it was the best way. When you're rich, you just handle it like where he did it. Get arrested and then just win the battle through back channels. Right. The gun is through the front. It's through aggression. Like if he's rich already, even if he gets arrested, he has enough money to get good lawyers and handle it from the alternative route. So to me, he handled it the way it was supposed to be. Yeah.
So then when you realize, like, that is the best way to do it, like, what it seems like Alex Jones gun was an emotional reaction to, "Come on, Trump supporters, get your guns because we're under attack."
But I think what you hit is so true, and I think it's a common theme that a lot of people have, where in journalism or just in general, they don't really look at the other side anyway. Look at politics. Most people who are anti-immigrant, when you look at the regions of anti-immigrants, immigrants don't even go there. Immigrants don't go to Kansas and Montana and North Dakota. But those are the people, no disrespect if you live in those regions, where anti-immigrant.
They're the most vocal.
Yeah, those people, Black people don't live in those regions. But yet they're the people who might have the most, I guess you could say, stereotypical views of Black people. But yet there's no Black people in those regions. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people do the most. people do that too much, where they have these viewpoints, and their viewpoint just come from a lack of ignorance of the other side. Mm-hmm. And I just think that people have to stop that. And
not lack of ignorance, but ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance of the other side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're ignorant of the other side's world.
Right.
Where they just look at it from their perspective.
Right.
And to be a journalist, you can't do that because, really we live in a globalized world, and because we live in a globalized world, all these different worlds intertwine with each other anyway. So you have to look at other viewpoints.
And I think the beauty of true journalism is really being able to disconnect yourself from your perception or even the reader's perception. Like, let's just say I'm talking to someone, like right now, let's just say I'm talking to someone who is urban. I can disconnect from my side and say, look, I'm going to go into your world and say, like for Alex Jones, I can see why you do this because you have a situation and you want to protect it. Because I think Alex Jones, personally, if I was looking for him, his world feels under attack. Even from his own subscribers, he feels under attack. The people are like, wow, I can't believe you support Trump and blah, 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 blah. So then he feels under attack. So now he feels like I have to stick my ground. Kanye West, I don't think he's crazy, but I feel like he probably feels under attack because he lost two powerful friends. And so now he has to go on this rant against them. So everyone has a reason for why they're doing their things, but you have to try to understand, go to from your perception. Because if I look at it and look at my judgment, I have my judgment. But I was like, okay, now if I let go of my way I perceive them and try to see it from their world, even though I really don't know, I can kind of speculate. Yeah, I can see why they have why Kanye would rant. I can see why Alex Jones does this. I can see why Donald Trump did that. I can see what you have to kind of see it from their perception.
Yeah, but it's hard to do. Like if you're emotional, you tend to just go into what feeds that emotion. But I guess that might work for a regular person. But when you reporting on the news, you can't be like that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see because in this next 4 years, I definitely think with Trump, a lot of the people on the right who supported him would probably get a sad awakening, just like how many people who supported the Democrats, Obama, if you really leftist, you were like, oh, the Democrats are not as leftist enough for me. Right. I think the same thing's going to happen to people on the right, where the left got their lesson, the people on the right going to get their lesson. Right. Hopefully, it doesn't last 8 years, it just lasts 4 years. So we'll see.
I am, but then potentially some people say maybe he'll get impeached because he's doing things totally not by the rules.
Yeah, I could see maybe that's the case, but I just think that he's just going to toe the line so much. I don't even see it. I mean, I can see why they say that, but I think he's going to come in and Mike Pence will be running the show. It's going to be kind of like how George Bush and Dick Cheney were, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if he was running the show, he would get impeached for sure. But what I'm sensing from him, it seems like Pence is going to be running the show.
So then that means that's President Pence.
Yeah, President Pence.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Till next time. Peace.